This just in, Donald Trump has fired another cabinet member. Let me repeat, another cabinet member has been fired by Donald Trump.
So MeidasTouch just broke the news that Trump fired Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer amid explosive corruption allegations. This isn't just another cabinet shakeup. It's a pattern of scandal and incompetence at the highest levels. Let's break down why this matters for American workers.
Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer has been fired by Donald Trump. The regime made an announcement moments ago. They said that she'll be working in a private sector job. You'll recall that she was under investigation for reportedly pursuing a relationship with a subordinate, for potential travel fraud, for potential drinking on the job.
That private sector job language is classic damage control. The allegations here: workplace sexual harassment, fraud, drinking on the job. These are career-ending scandals for normal people. But in Trump's world, you get a golden parachute and PR spin about voluntary departure.
Also allegations that she would go to strip clubs and she would spend lots of money on these lavish vacations and in Vegas. It was reported that her husband had been barred from entering the Labor Department headquarters after two female staffers accused him of sexual assault inside the building.
Think about the irony here. The Labor Secretary, whose job is protecting workers from harassment and unsafe conditions, allegedly created the most hostile workplace imaginable. Her husband sexually assaulting employees in the Labor Department building? That's federal crimes on federal property.
According to a New York Times report, one alleged incident was captured on a security camera, according to this report, although she and her husband denied it, and was now apparently part of a criminal investigation. It should also be noted that two of her top aides had resigned based on this investigation.
Video evidence changes everything. When there's security camera footage and criminal investigations, you can't spin your way out. Two top aides resigning tells you even her inner circle knew this was indefensible. That's when you know the scandals are real.
Here was a New York Post, of all places, right-wing propaganda paper. New York Post reported that a investigation uncovered that Lori Chavez DeRemer's office booze stash and strip club visits with subordinates was a major issue that was being looked into.
When the New York Post, Trump's favorite tabloid, is reporting negatively on you, that's political death. Strip club visits with subordinates isn't just personal misconduct. It's creating hostile work environments and potentially using taxpayer funds for personal entertainment.
They claim that she's resigning, but she was obviously forced out, in my opinion. Stephen Chung, Donald Trump's communications director, posted the following message. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer will be leaving the administration to take a position in the private sector. She has done a phenomenal job in her role by protecting American workers, enacting fair labor practices, and helping Americans gain additional skills to improve their lives.
This statement is pure gaslighting. Protecting American workers while her husband is sexually assaulting female staffers? Fair labor practices while she's drinking on the job and pursuing inappropriate relationships? It's insulting to anyone paying attention to reality.
Of course, nothing that Stephen Chung said is true. We saw job losses, manufacturing job losses, construction job losses, some of the worst job numbers in the history of the United States under Chavez DeRemer and Donald Trump's tenure. And again, job report after job report was worse than the next.
The job numbers don't lie. Manufacturing collapsed, construction tanked, and workers got hurt while she was too busy partying in Vegas. Personal corruption and policy failure go hand in hand. When leaders don't respect their office, they fail at their actual job.
It didn't seem like Chavez DeRemer knew this termination was coming. About 4 hours ago, she was making social media posts talking about expanding apprenticeship, strengthening safety, building pathways to critical careers, which is just a bunch of BS because she's doing the opposite. But she made a post on social media 4 hours ago.
4 hours before getting fired, she's posting about worker safety. The same person whose office allegedly had criminal sexual assaults happening. You can't make this up. Posting about safety while creating the most unsafe workplace in government.
I mean, you'll recall that Chavez de Remer was one of the biggest sycophants and bootlickers of Donald Trump, one of the least qualified people, and that's saying a lot on this cabinet of horrifically unqualified people. Remember, she was one of the first people who started draping Donald Trump's billboards on the build government buildings. The first big Donald Trump, Stalin-esque, Kim Jong-un-esque billboard was on the Department of Labor building.
She was peak Trump loyalist, putting his face on government buildings like North Korea does with Kim Jong-un. But even extreme sycophancy has limits when you're creating criminal liability for the administration. Loyalty only goes so far when the FBI gets involved.
It was very, very humiliating. Like, remember this cabinet meeting appearance where Lori Chavez de Remer said, you know, your big, beautiful face is all over our buildings. Remember how weird it was?
That cabinet meeting clip aged terribly. Praising Trump's big, beautiful face on government buildings while corruption was happening behind the scenes. This kind of cult-like worship corrupts everything. When flattery matters more than competence, scandals are inevitable.
And I want to rewind a little bit about who Lori Chavez de Remer is. She was a former congresswoman from Oregon, Republican, of course. She claimed she supported workers when she was a Republican congresswoman. She claimed that she supported the PRO Act, which was one of the most important pro-union pieces of legislation out there, which all Republicans and Trump and MAGA definitely opposed because it strengthens unions.
The PRO Act would strengthen collective bargaining and worker organizing rights nationwide. Supporting it as a Republican was actually brave. It shows she once cared about workers over corporate donors. But that integrity didn't survive Trump's confirmation process.
But then during her confirmation hearing, she wouldn't get confirmed unless she said she no longer supported the PRO Act. So when she was cross-examined by Rand Paul during her confirmation hearing back in February of 2025, she said she no longer supports the PRO Act.
Rand Paul forced her to abandon workers to get confirmed. That moment crystallizes Trump's labor agenda. Anyone who actually supports workers gets purged. She sold out her principles for power, then betrayed the workers she promised to protect.
And you'll recall that she would go on state regime media, which calls itself Fox, and give these really embarrassing appearances like this one on Varney.
Those Fox appearances were pure propaganda while the scandals were brewing. She was selling Trump's anti-worker agenda on TV while allegedly creating hostile workplaces behind the scenes. The corruption and the messaging were happening simultaneously.
We just don't have good data at this point. That's the issue. So we're just going to make it up, basically, play this clip.
She literally admitted to making up data on national television. When government officials say, "We don't have good data, so we'll make it up," that's fraud. Personal scandals and professional dishonesty go together. Corruption breeds more corruption.
And I'll just remind you that now Democratic Congresswoman Bynum, who we've had on the show a ton, was the one who ultimately replaced Lori Chavez de Remer and just destroyed Chavez de Remer in the debate. I'll just remind you of what went down. Let's play this clip right here.
Janelle Bynum actually fights for workers and won that Oregon seat by exposing exactly this kind of fake populism. The contrast is stark. Real worker advocates versus corporate puppets who sell out for power, then get consumed by their own scandals.
So, folks, the big headline, Labor Secretary Lori Chavez de Remer is out, fired by Donald Trump. They're claiming it's a resignation, but she's been fired. See you later. Who's next is the question. Is it going to be Kash Patel with the ridiculous lawsuit that he filed earlier today?
The timing matters. We're in multiple international crises, and Trump's cabinet is imploding from scandal after scandal. When your labor secretary is facing criminal investigations, it signals to the world that basic governance has broken down.
Is it going to be Dan Driscoll, one of the Army secretaries? Is it going to be, you tell me who you think it's going to be. Put in the comments below who's next.
This level of constant firings is unprecedented. Normal administrations might have one major resignation. Trump's had multiple cabinet members fired for corruption in just months. The instability itself becomes a national security threat during wartime.